20 years old, he thought he understood how money worked. Every day, his phone showed him the same story: luxury cars, private jets, expensive watches, and influencers claiming they had discovered the secret to wealth. Success seemed loud, and the richer someone appeared, the more attention they attracted. Like millions of other young people, he believed that fame and money always traveled together. But one night, while sitting alone in a small room with nothing more than an old laptop and an unstable internet connection, he discovered something that completely changed his understanding of business. While scrolling through business articles, he came across a company that had just been sold for tens of millions of dollars. Then he noticed something strange. He had never heard of the company before. There were no advertisements, no viral videos, no famous founder, and no massive social media following. The company was almost invisible, yet it was worth more money than most people would earn in several lifetimes. That discovery became an obsession. Over the next few weeks, he researched hundreds of businesses. While his friends spent their evenings watching movies and scrolling through entertainment, he spent his nights studying companies nobody talked about. The deeper he looked, the more surprising the truth became. Some of the most profitable businesses in the world operated completely behind the scenes. They weren't selling products directly to consumers. They weren't competing for attention. Instead, they were solving critical problems for other businesses. These companies managed logistics, processed payments, organized data, automated operations, and handled countless functions that kept the economy running. Most people never saw them. Most people never knew their names. Yet many of them generated millions of dollars every year. One evening, he opened a notebook and wrote a simple question at the top of the page. Why are some companies famous while others are rich? The more he studied, the clearer the answer became. Consumer brands constantly fought for attention. Every day they needed views, clicks, engagement, and visibility. Invisible businesses played a completely different game. They didn't care about likes or followers. They cared about becoming necessary. A company could ignore advertisements. A company could ignore social media trends, but a company could never ignore a problem that was costing it money every single day. That was the secret. Invisible businesses didn't sell excitement. They sold solutions. And the more painful the problem, the more valuable the solution became. Suddenly, the entire world looked different. Every business became an opportunity to study. Restaurants struggled with staffing. Construction companies struggled with project coordination. Warehouses struggled with inventory tracking. Everywhere he looked, businesses were dealing with expensive problems. Most people ignored those problems because they looked boring. Everyone wanted the next viral app or the next big trend. Very few people wanted to solve operational challenges. Yet the entrepreneurs solving those challenges were often becoming wealthy. He realized that opportunities were hiding in plain sight. The world wasn't lacking ideas. It was overflowing with problems waiting for solutions. The biggest lesson came when he stopped thinking about products and started thinking about outcomes. Most beginner entrepreneurs ask, what should I sell? Successful entrepreneurs ask, what problem should I solve? That small difference changes everything. Businesses don't pay for ideas. They pay for results. If you help them increase revenue, they pay. If you help them save time, they pay. If you reduce costs, they pay. The marketplace rewards value, not excitement. Once he understood that principle, entrepreneurship no longer seemed mysterious. It became a system. Then he discovered another surprising fact. $1 million business doesn't require millions of customers. If a company saves a customer thousands of dollars every month, it can charge a premium price. 100 customers paying $1,000 per month create $100,000 in monthly revenue. Over a year, that becomes more than $1 million. With a few hundred loyal customers, an entrepreneur could build a multi-million-dollar company without becoming famous, going viral, or attracting public attention. The math was simple. The execution was difficult. But for the first time, the path was clear. That night, he wrote one final sentence in his notebook. It would become the foundation of everything that followed. The goal is not to become famous. The goal is to become necessary. As he looked at those words, he realized that attention can disappear overnight. Trends come and go. Algorithms change. Audiences move on. But businesses that create genuine value become difficult to replace. And businesses that are difficult to replace become extremely valuable. For the first time, he understood why some companies quietly reached $10 million while remaining completely invisible to the public. They weren't chasing attention. They were solving problems. Again and again, month after month, year after year. And somewhere among those hidden opportunities, he knew there was a problem waiting for him to solve. A problem that could become a business that could become a system, and a system that could eventually become worth millions. For the next few months, the young man became obsessed with a single mission. He wasn't searching for business ideas anymore. He was searching for problems. Every successful company he studied seemed to follow the same pattern. They didn't start with a brilliant product. They started with an expensive problem. The larger the problem, the larger the opportunity. This realization completely changed the way he looked at the world. Most people walked through life seeing inconveniences. Entrepreneurs walked through life seeing potential businesses. Every morning, he carried a notebook. Every conversation became research. When a restaurant owner complained about employee scheduling, he wrote it down. When a real estate agent complained about losing leads, he wrote it down. When a warehouse manager complained about inventory mistakes, he wrote it down. At first, his notebook looked like a collection of random frustrations. But over time, patterns began to appear. The same problems kept showing up again and again. Different industries, different people, same frustrations. One evening, while reviewing pages of notes, he noticed something interesting. Many small and medium-sized businesses were wasting enormous amounts of time on repetitive tasks. They spent hours manually updating spreadsheets, tracking customer information, managing appointments, sending reminders, and handling paperwork. None of these activities directly generated revenue. Yet they consumed valuable time every day. The businesses weren't losing money because they lacked customers. They were losing money because their systems were inefficient. That discovery changed everything. Most entrepreneurs search for opportunities where nobody is looking. But sometimes the biggest opportunities are hiding in places everyone sees and ignores. The problem wasn't exciting. It wasn't revolutionary. It didn't sound like the next billion-dollar technology company. But it was costing businesses thousands of dollars every month. And whenever money is leaking from a system, there is an opportunity to create value. The young man began conducting deeper research. He spoke to dozens of business owners. Some companies had employees spending 20 or 30 hours every week on administrative tasks. Others were losing customers simply because they failed to follow up at the right time. He had identified a problem businesses were willing to pay to solve. He had spoken to potential customers. He had gathered research. But research doesn't create revenue. For the first time, he had to move from learning to building. Every day after work, he sat in front of his laptop and focused on creating the simplest possible version of the solution. He didn't have a large team. He didn't have investors. He didn't have unlimited resources. While many aspiring entrepreneurs spent years planning, he understood something important. A mediocre product in the market teaches more than a perfect product sitting in your imagination. The first version was far from impressive. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't revolutionary. In fact, compared to what he imagined, it looked almost embarrassing. But it worked. And that was enough. Most people delay launching because they fear judgment. They want everything to be perfect before anyone sees it. The young man realized that perfection was often another form of procrastination. Customers don't pay for perfect. They pay for useful. After weeks of work, he finally had something he could show to businesses. Now came an even harder challenge. Sales. Like many first-time entrepreneurs, he secretly hoped customers would instantly recognize the value of his solution. Reality had other plans. His first sales conversations were uncomfortable. Some business owners weren't interested. Others didn't understand the offer. A few simply ignored him. Every rejection felt personal. Every no created doubt. For a moment, he wondered if he had made a mistake. Maybe the idea wasn't good enough. Maybe nobody cared. Maybe he should quit before wasting more time. But then he remembered something he had noticed while studying successful companies. Every business story looked smooth when told years later. The first step was delegation. At first, he hated it. Nobody completed tasks exactly the way he would. Nobody understood the vision the way he did. But he also understood another truth. Perfection doesn't scale. Systems do. Slowly, he began hiring people. The first hire felt risky. Every paycheck reduced profits. Every mistake felt expensive. Yet over time, something unexpected happened. The company became stronger. Tasks that once consumed entire days were handled by others. Problems were solved without his involvement. Customers received faster support. Operations became smoother. For the first time, the business was becoming independent. And independence created leverage. Leverage is one of the most important concepts in business. Most people earn money through effort. Entrepreneurs build systems that multiply effort. A single employee can increase productivity. A process can eliminate unnecessary work. Technology can automate repetitive tasks. Individually, these improvements seem small. Together, they transform a business. As revenue continued growing, new challenges appeared. Competition. The market had noticed the opportunity. New companies started offering similar services. Some competitors lowered prices. Others copied features. A few attempted aggressive marketing campaigns. At first, the young man worried. He feared competitors would steal customers and destroy everything he had built. But after studying the situation carefully, he realized something important. Competition wasn't a sign of failure. Competition was proof that demand existed. If nobody wanted the solution, there would be no competitors. The real question wasn't how to eliminate competition. The real question was how to become better than it. Instead of starting a price war, he focused on customer results. While competitors chased growth, he focused on value. A few years later, the business crossed the $10 million mark. There was no viral announcement. No magazine cover. No millions of followers celebrating online. In fact, most people still had no idea the company existed. That was the irony. The business had become more successful than he ever imagined, yet almost nobody knew his name. One evening, he sat alone in his office and looked back at the journey. The late nights, the rejections, the failed ideas, the endless hours of work. The companies that quietly solve important problems often build more wealth than the companies everyone talks about. That was the lesson hidden behind the entire journey. The goal was never to become famous. The goal was to become necessary. Because when a business becomes necessary, customers stay. Revenue grows. Systems expand. And wealth compounds. In the end, the $10 million business wasn't built through luck. It wasn't built through a secret trick. It wasn't built through going viral. It was built through finding a painful problem, creating a valuable solution, and improving that solution every single day for years. And that's why the most powerful businesses are often the ones nobody can see.